Stream. I'm Kevin Williams, your Kevinly father, and we're going to listen to Donald Trump talking to Brian Kilmeade today. Now, this is a radio show that Brian does after Fox and or Friends in the morning. He runs up several flights of stairs or takes the elevator and does a little radio show. So President Trump's going to talk about all the stuff that's happening, the riots, how the protesters need to be protected by the military. So as soon as I see somebody come into the chat room, we'll get going with this. If you're just joining us, I'm going to run the credits as well because I want people to know about my wonderful patrons. Hey, Cam, if you'd like to be a patron and help support this broadcast, just go to kevinlyfather.com. There it goes. And you can become a patron there. $1, $5, $16,075.38, whatever it takes. 38 cents like our generous grant from Chris Wilson, then absolutely come on by. So, hey, Samantha, Stephanie father, Stephanie daughter. I'm already out of words. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I haven't listened to this. I did see that it was done, and I had to wait for the podcast to come up. So we're going to listen to the podcast, and we're going to be able to pause it and stuff like that. Or as I call it, a pausecast, so that we can discuss. And I'll be able to pay more attention to you guys in the chat window. Kathleen, hello. Hey, Danielle, hello again. I don't know what's going to happen when, the stay-at-home orders are over. No one's going to watch anymore. So, and hello to everybody out there, 2020 as well. That's a great idea, Cam. Today's the day to donate 2020 directly to me at paypal.me/KevinlyDad. It'll come at the end of this. PayPal.me/KevinlyDad. Still don't have my unemployment money yet. So I went on the state website in between the broadcasts here and said, hey, I looked it up. I said, hey, so I haven't seen anything. And then on the website it says, don't write to us unless it's been 4 weeks or longer. Well, it's been longer than 4 weeks and it's pending. They've made a decision that I'm going to get X amount plus the $600, which is awesome. It's not a lot, but I'll survive. And I'm blessed. I've got family and friends and people that support me, so that's great. And then my patrons, who paid for this Coca-Cola. Tastes like donations. I'll be okay, but I can't imagine being in a position without the incredible support that I have from friends and family and waiting this long. What's it been? March, April, May, coming on 3 months now without a paycheck. And I'm not alone. I'm in there with 40 million other Americans. Still have only received one of the $1,200 checks. Kevinly daughter has not gotten her Trump money yet. So I hope you guys are all doing okay. Am I going to watch Obama at 5? I didn't know anything about Obama at 5, Kathleen. Tell me more. Danielle, good. You can work from home all the time, so good. I hope that at some point I get a job so that you don't have to watch me, Danielle. So you got it all at once after 8 weeks, your unemployment, Kathleen. Well, that's good. Kim, what state are you in? Right now I'm in Washington, and everything's official now, my address and everything. Oh, I got to tell the post office. Yeah, the Trump money has not come through, Cam. So that's great. Yeah, Stephanie, Richard and I aren't married. 20 years together, disabled, no check. He got his. So you still haven't gotten anything. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay. Good. Thank you, Kathleen. I'll take a look at that at 5, but that's 5 Eastern time. That's in an hour from now, so we better get listening to the broadcast here. Here, I want to tell you about all my wonderful people. Here it is right here. There's the credits. That's you folks who helped me out, and everybody else watching who is also in the credits. for helping out. Thank you. You don't have to chat with us. It just keeps you interested. I mean, it keeps these guys interested. So thank you again, everybody. I really appreciate it. And honestly, over the last week when I've been moving everything, I've missed you guys. So it's good to be back. All right, let's get going with this. Momster? Okay, let's see what your daughter's $1,200 check was intercepted by her ex. No info on how to get it resent. Oh, ouch. That's a matter for the police, Momster. Get on that, because, the police aren't doing anything right now. Direct deposit. Yeah, you can do your direct deposit to go to the IRS site and put in your direct deposit info. But the last time I looked, that was paused for some reason. They already have Kevin Lee daughter's direct deposit info, but no check. I was going to say maybe I should check in there, but I just checked the other day and it's still not there. Anyway, let's listen to the Brian Kilmeade show here.
President, thanks so much for joining us from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on 10 years on radio. Wow, that's pretty good. I remember when you were one day on radio. All right, it's been a long time, but that's a great job. Yeah. You're doing a great job, Brian.
You were hosting. Thanks so much, Mr. President. You were hosting The Apprentice back then. You were number one of the ratings when we started, and now you got the number one job in the country. I just was curious, the place you used to live, where the Mayor de Blasio, the National Guard is not going to work here. They're not trained to handle unrest. Do you agree with that?
No, not at all. It's if you look at what happened in Minnesota, they were getting decimated, and after 3 days of watching it, I demanded that the National Guard be utilized, and in one day it was over. In fact, they got there at a certain time in the late afternoon, and by the time they finished, it was, I always say somewhat sarcastically, but the safest place on earth. And Minnesota was really having a hard time, and we took care of it. And the governor's a nice man, and he was...
The governor called the National Guard in. Trump didn't call the National Guard in.
Not using enough, and he was, you saw the police were running in Minneapolis, and they were running away from their precinct, which is something I've never seen before. You have a liberal mayor that frankly was having a lot of trouble, and you have a very liberal mayor in New York, too. And you notice that all of these places that have problems are not run by Republicans, they're run by liberal Democrats. So like there Atlanta. Is something into that philosophy. And yet they're also the ones keeping everybody
Republican governor
locked up in their apartments and their homes for too long a period of time. So it's very interesting how that changes. But no, the National Guard, we could solve that problem in New York. And in fact, if they don't get their act straightened out, I will solve it. I'll solve it fast.
Last night was one of the best nights in day 8, especially in New York. We didn't see the riots. We saw the protests, even though it wasn't perfect. Do you think we've turned the corner according to the reports you get?
Well, you may, but you still had a lot of people, and they're violent people in many cases. You have protesters, but you also have anarchists and looters and a lot of people that are bad people, okay? A lot of bad people. We have a lot of proof and information and proof. You'll be seeing it in time to come where they're delivering rocks and stones to certain locations and dumping them. So that's their ammunition, and that hurts people very badly, including National Guard people or even military people. But Washington is in great shape.
He's got a lot of information on this, just like he had all that information after he sent those private investigators to Hawaii to uncover Barack Obama's long-term birth certificate.
Out the National Guard after the first night, which was a little bit rougher, but then after that we called up and we have, I jokingly said, a little bit jokingly maybe, it's one of the safest places on earth. And we had no...
He just said that like a minute ago.
...problem at all last night. We had substantial dominant force, and you have to have a dominant force. Maybe it doesn't sound good to say it, but you have to have a dominant force. We need law and order.
Sunday it wasn't the case. We had Owen Leland Vittert reporting no problem. It got dark, a huge problem. He was attacked. And then the reports were they were so worried they brought you downstairs in the White House to a bunker. What could you tell me Sunday night was like for you and your family?
Well, it was a false report. I wasn't down. I went down during the day, and I was there for a tiny, little short period of time, and it was much more for an inspection. There was no problem during the day. The problem, I saw Leland got whacked pretty good, but that was during the night. And these problems are during the night, not during the day. And I've gone down 2 or 3 times, all for inspection. And you go there, someday you may need it, but you go there, and I went down.
So he went down to inspect 2 or 3 times,
I looked at it. It was during the day. It was not a problem. And I read about it like a big thing. There was never a problem. We never had a problem. Nobody ever came close to giving us a problem. The Secret Service does an unbelievable job of maintaining control in the White House. And beyond the Secret Service, we have a lot of other great people out there, including the D.C. police. And then, of course, on top of that, after I saw the one evening, which was a little rough, and it was certainly rough on Leland, I think more so than anybody else, we brought in the troops.
So, Mr. President, I remember on 9/11, the President Bush wanted to land back at Washington. They wouldn't let him. They said it's too dangerous. Finally got him back there. Sometimes the Secret Service even tells the president, I can't do this. So you tell me, Mr. President, they didn't say to you, you have to go downstairs. My responsibility is your welfare. They didn't limit you at all in the House?
Nope, they didn't tell me that at all. But they said it would be a good time to go down, take a look, because maybe sometime you're going to need it. And I've been down, let's see, that would be number 2.5, sort of, because I've done different things. But
Dude, he visited the bunker. I heard about this. I didn't know that he actually did say it. Yeah, he visited the bunker 2.5 times. One time was just a halftime because, he went to see certain things. Hold on.
They didn't tell me that at all, but they said it would be a good time to go down, take a look, because maybe sometime you're going to need it. And I've been down, let's see, that would be number 2.5, sort of, because I've done different things, but 2.5. But I looked.
I went down to Starbucks 2.5 times because I've done, different things. Sometimes when you go a place, you're only half there because you're doing different things.
I was down for a very, very short period of time. Very, very short period of time. I can't tell you who went with me, but a whole group of people went with me.
I was in and out in no time, so really, she's only half pregnant.
As an inspecting factor, I was back up, and Brian, it was during the
inspecting factor. It was a halftime because it was an inspecting factor. The hell does that mean?
Day. It wasn't during the night. I think they reported during the night. During the night, maybe someday it makes sense. During the day,
I mean, really, he's been half a president at best.
You have tremendous numbers of people. We didn't even have protesters, or if they did, it was a small crowd. There's so much fake news going around, Brian, you have no idea. Maybe you do actually have an idea.
Mr. President, you gave a speech in the Rose Garden, got a thumbs up for a lot of people, especially your supporters, and then you said, I'm going to go into a very important place. They quickly cleared out
It was one of the best bunkers. I went down there to inspect. Obama had taken away all of the handguns, all of the poison. What kind of bunker has no handguns and poison?
The park, and
the cupboards were bare.
You walked through with many of your staffer, from Kayleigh McEnany to the Secretary of Defense, who said he didn't know where he was going at the time. And you appeared at St. John's Church, which was boarded up, and you held up a Bible. The Reverend James Martin.
I should correct myself. I've been saying that the Bible was upside down because of the bookmark coming out the bottom. Someone had just not put the bookmark where it's supposed to be. I saw another photo where you could see the spine, and it does appear that he held the Bible the correct way up. And so gassing all the American citizens because of my error is now completely legitimate. So I take that back. I sit corrected.
A Jesuit priest and author of a book on that church says the church is not a photo op, the religion is not a political tool, and God is not a plaything. He's among some religious leaders who are very critical of that visit. What's your response?
Well, my response is simple. Most religious leaders loved it. I heard Franklin Graham this morning, thought it was great. I heard many other people think it was great. And it's only the other side that didn't like it. The opposition party, as the expression goes.
So the bishop of the church to which Trump went is the opposition party, as it's called.
They burned down the church the day before. I heard.
They didn't burn it down. They set a fire in the basement. Bad, very bad, but people keep saying the church burned down. It wasn't burned down.
How nice and wonderful the protesters were over there, really? Then why did they burn?
Yeah, green room, they doctored photo.
Burned down the church the day before. They burned down a big section of it. Fortunately, they were able to catch it in time. This is a church built.
Why did the protesters burn the church down the day before if they were so wonderful? Maybe it wasn't the same protesters. Maybe they weren't protesters at all. Maybe they're just rioters. I don't know why so many people can't distinguish between good people and bad people. Same people who voted for Trump, so...
At a similar time as the White House. And Madison was your president. He was number 6, I believe. And Madison was your president, and he was the first president to enter and go to that church. Now, when I said go to the church, I didn't know protesters or not. Nobody tells me that. They say, yes, sir, we'll go to the church. So we walked over to the church. It was very fast. I think it was very symbolic. I did hold up a Bible. I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing, and many religious leaders loved it. As to, if you read Molly Hemingway, who I know you're a fan of, and I'm a big fan of, she wrote a piece that was all fake news. There's so much fake news. Most news is fake. They're corrupt.
He just said Molly Hemingway wrote a piece that was all fake news. It was all about fake news. He just forgot that word. So there's something cognitively very wrong with this man.
Good thing, not a bad thing, and many religious leaders loved it. As to, if you read Molly Hemingway, who I know you're a fan of, and I'm a big fan of, she wrote a piece that was all fake news. There's so much fake news. Most news is fake. They're corrupt and they're fake, right. The lamestream media. And if you read the story, and if you read what Molly Hemingway said, who's a real reporter, a great journalist, you'll see that that story was fake. They didn't use tear gas. They moved them out. Now, when I went...
They didn't use tear gas. They didn't use... Just doesn't say it. Because, yeah, they were using smoke bombs on American citizens who were peaceably assembling. So that makes it okay, as long as it wasn't actual tear gas. Yes, it was smoke, chemical agents that make you cry, you have difficulty breathing it, and you cough. Not technically tear gas.
I didn't say, move them out. I didn't know who was there. I figured I was going to walk over to the church very nearby. So...
the White House doesn't have any windows. I never watch TV. How am I supposed to know there's a bunch of protesters? This is ridiculous. I would spend all day in a bunker, half the day, half the time. If you read the Molly Hemingway piece, you'll get the real story. But most religious leaders loved it. Why wouldn't they love it? Yeah, so smoke bombs are chemicals. That's how they react. That's how you get the smoke. There's a very small hamster inside there burning paper. They throw it, and then he wakes up, and he just lights it. In front of a church that went through trauma, to put it mildly. I mean, the whole basement, a big part of the basement was burning. It's very lucky that church didn't burn down, and that's a very important church. So I haven't heard what you told me.
Mr. President, was the original intent to go inside and see the damage? And did you notice it was boarded up when you got there?
No, they told me it was boarded up, and I said, it's all right, we'll stand by the church. We won't go inside. It had, received a very bad burning. I would have been able to go inside if I wanted to, but it was boarded up. The whole building was just about boarded up, but I would have been able to go in. But there's no reason for it. It was smoke, a lot of smoke, and a lot of damage, actually, a lot of damage. But it was confined to one area. The fire itself was confined to one area. But, Brian, the church leaders loved that I went there with the Bible. I mean, take a look at Franklin Graham, so respected, and so many others. Take a look at Robert Jeffress. These are all people you know. They thought it was a great symbol, and I thought it was a great symbol. But the fake news makes everything look bad, no matter what you do. Like we did a great job on ventilators. We're giving them now to countries all over the world. We're making them. When I started, we had practically none. The cupboards were bare. The Obama administration left us practically nothing. You don't hear those stories. They don't write about that. We tested number 16 million yesterday, much more than anybody else. You don't hear that we've done well in testing. They always say, well, why not more? And yet Germany is at 3.
No, they say, no, why not more testing at the beginning when testing could have actually made a difference? Excuse me, yeah, you guys are right. The CDC does consider the smoke bombs, considers that tear gas as well, because it makes you cry and it makes you move out of the way. And it's not like a magician's poof, oh, you can't see the police officers anymore. Everybody leave. I guess nothing's happening. Let's go home. But yeah, the CDC officially considers those tear gas. So thank you very much, everybody. You're right.
3 million, we're 16 million, practically nothing. You don't hear those stories. They don't write about that. We tested number 16 million yesterday, much more than...
Yeah, the White House is denying, KK Macaroni was on earlier, denying that the bullets were fired either, and there were rubber bullets. I mean, we watched it live. We could hear the firing. We could hear people getting hit. Now, it is possible that maybe these non-tear gas smoke canisters released shrapnel, and that's what hit the protesters. Or everybody started running because of, oh no, look out, it's not tear gas. And they started running and kicked up stones, and stones hit somebody. Possible.
Anybody else? You don't hear that we've done well in testing. They always say, well, why not?
Excellent point, Mumster. Throwing out smoke bombs in the midst of a respiratory pandemic. Like you're wearing a mask like a good person, and then suddenly you're having difficulty breathing. Oh, God. And this whole thing because they stopped a guy from breathing.
More. And yet Germany is at 3 million. We're 16 million. And we have incredible testing now. So, we've done a great job.
And how many times the population does the U.S. have than Germany?
We don't get credit for it, but hopefully the people understand.
So you have a pandemic and a national unrest, two unprecedented things, I would argue, in my lifetime and probably yours. But the big picture, I thought we'd be talking about the day after.
Wait, what did Brian say?
George. We don't get credit for it, but hopefully the people understand.
So you have a pandemic and a national unrest, two unprecedented things, I would argue, in my lifetime and probably.
National unrest, and was he not alive for the Rodney King riots? Was he not alive for Ferguson? Do they not count because they were only in a limited number of cities?
Probably yours. But the big picture, I thought we'd be talking about the day after George Floyd's tragic death, which I think you agree. It seems that law enforcement, you don't want to convict someone before they have trial, but 96. Right.
Yeah, I've noticed that. There's been several. The park police did not fire any rubber bullets, but there were the park police. The National Guard could have been there. Theoretically, the D.C. police could have been there as well. I was traveling at the time, so literally we were listening to this happen in a car. So I didn't get to watch it live. You guys probably have more information on it than I do. I could find it, but what difference does it make? They were peaceably assembling. It was not curfew yet. It was a half an hour before the curfew, and they cleared them out.
6% of the country thinks.
From a park. They weren't blocking a freeway. It was a park. A national park.
That was out of bounds. The knee on the neck killed him. I'm one of them. We can't see where the trial comes out. But this is the one stat.
Yeah, no, Trump skipped the 60s. He had a bone spur, so.
That I want to bring you to. And I'm going to ask you if you can attack this. According to a Axios Ipsos poll, 70% of white Americans say they trust the local police. Only 36% of African Americans do. How do you attack that problem? How do you change things?
Well, I think it's a very sad problem. As you know, as a Republican, I'm doing very well with African Americans.
8%.
And with the vote, in polls and everything, especially. I mean, I haven't seen one very recently because you had the plague come in from China, so that changed things up. But we had the best economy ever.
They haven't polled any African Americans because of the plague from China?
We had the best numbers for African Americans.
He hasn't seen them because his people don't show him polls that are bad because he gets angry and shoots the messenger. But it's only pepper bullets, and it's not him.
American unemployment and unemployment in history, best home ownership, best everything. We had the best numbers in everything. Not only African American, but the African American numbers were.
But how do you handle
great.
The law enforcement part of this?
Well, I think you have to get better.
Yeah, I knew he'd go right for unemployment, which is now 16.8 or something. I looked it up this morning for African Americans. Here's my whole take on the African American unemployment rate. It shouldn't be a thing. The fact that white unemployment was 3. African American unemployment in February was 5.8. Whites was 3.1. Like the fact that there's that disparity, that's what we should be addressing. There should not be a disparity. So, yes, that's great. African Americans have the lowest in history, which is really only since the 70s when they started measuring it. It was never measured before that, so it wasn't really in history, just since they started measuring. But that gap is what needs to be fixed. There shouldn't be a gap that says, oh, this race has this employment, this race has a da-da-da. It's good to keep track of it so that we can see that difference, but until a president actually fixes that, nobody should be bragging about it.
Better than what they've been doing. I mean, obviously that was a terrible thing, and I've spoken about it numerous times in various speeches. And it's interesting. I spoke about it when we launched a very successful rocket, a tremendous program that culminated on that day, and now obviously it goes on from there. But I then made a speech, and it was a speech about the rocket, and I devoted 25% of the speech probably to what happened, or more, to what happened with respect to George Floyd. And it was, and then you listen to this. He doesn't talk about George Floyd. The rocket went off. I then made a speech and I talked about George Floyd, but they said he didn't talk about George Floyd. Half, maybe even almost half of the speech, but a large portion of the speech was devoted exactly to that. And so, with the media, you basically, no matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough. But the people understand it, and that's one of the beauties to social media. I mean, I would love not to even bother with social media, but I'm able to get my word out beautifully by social media. Fortunately, you use social media too.
Right.
But we have to get the word out. Look, we have to, Brian. We have to get. The police departments, everybody has to do better. This is a long-term problem. This didn't happen today. This happened. I mean, a guy like Sleepy Joe Biden was in there for 43 years. Then he says, I think we should do this. I saw it today.
I think we should do this. That's Joe Biden. Okay, here we got the speech. Give me a second. And here's the speech. He says almost half, just like, he went down to the bunker half a time. See this? I can make this. Watch. Wait. Okay. Here's the speech. I can do it even better, guys. Watch this. Woo. Okay, see those yellow lines? That's the part of the speech in which he addresses Floyd. Am I actually making this smaller, or am I just... I think I'm doing it. Sorry, guys. This is the tech that I'm stuck with. Okay, so here's the whole speech. No, I made it too small. Bear with me. Okay, I'm going to put it right in the center here. Here's the speech. He said it was half the speech. This is the entirety of the speech from top to bottom. Well, let's say from here to here. Halfway would be about here. So maybe 25% of the speech is what he actually devoted to Floyd. So, okay, he was right with about a quarter of it. He was way off. But he just, it doesn't matter. Maybe half the speech, because A, nobody checks it. B, nobody cares. I mean, nobody else is as stupid as I am. Here we go. Let's go down, see where he talks about Floyd. We will stand with the family of George Floyd. And then he went right on to the rocket ship going on. And let's see, yeah. And all the rest of the speech was not about Floyd. Okay, going back.
He took his mask off for the first time in a while. I haven't seen his face for a long time. And he said, I think we should do this, or I think we should do that. And actually, then he started speaking through the mask again. He feels comfortable with the mask on, I think. And even though there was nobody anywhere near him, which is interesting. But he made a statement about what he should do. I said, he's been there for 43 years. He was vice president for 8 years. He didn't do a thing. His crime bill was a disaster.
I'll tell you what exactly. Right, I will tell you what he said. He said he won't traffic in fear and division. He won't fan the flames. He'll seek to heal the racial wounds that have long plagued our country, not use them for political gain. And I assume that he says you are doing all those things.
Well, you see, that speech was written. He didn't say that. He repeated the words. That's all. That speech was written for.
He didn't say that. He repeated the words. That's all.
Because he doesn't speak like that. But here's the thing. He did a crime bill that was a disaster. What he did with Clarence Thomas was a disaster. It was a disaster, the way he treated Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas got approved to the Supreme Court. So
Thomas, a black man, a great justice, as it turns out. But go back to those horrible days, the way he treated Clarence.
I think, I don't know, I'll check and see if he's actually said all lives matter. He probably has.
Clarence Thomas. They write books about it. There was nobody worse than Biden. Now, he's not the same Biden. He's about half, maybe less. But
everything is
the
half
fact
today
is
with
that
him.
he doesn't say that. They write. He's surrounded by the Democrats have bad policy. In many ways, they're bad politicians because their policy open borders, take away everybody's guns. You know, they want to take your guns away, except now more people bought guns in the last 3-4 days than they have in a long time. Because when they look out on the streets...
Right. I know. I saw it in my own neighborhood. They were wrapped around the building buying guns all last night as protesters who are actually in the suburbs.
They want security and they want safety. That's right. And the Democrats want to take your guns away.
In 3 separate polls, he's beating you by about 10 points.
Okay, I have other polls where I'm winning, and you've seen.
Okay, Trump has only referred to Black Lives Matter on publicly on video one time, and let's take a look at that. Come on. I have to. How do I let you guys see it? I can. Let's bring it over here. Oh, okay. Hold on. I have to unmute it. I can bring it over here. Let's watch.
And there were, quite a few. And I think what happened, probably it gets publicity. Unfortunately, as everything I do gets publicity. And probably some of the Black Lives Matter folks call them up, say, oh, you shouldn't be meeting with Trump because he believes that all lives matter. I believe black lives do matter, but I believe all lives matter very strongly. I'm not like with the character that's run.
That's the one time that Trump has referred to Black Lives Matter. I believe that Black Lives Matter, but I believe that all lives matter. Followed it up immediately with all lives matter, which is the way to disqualify the Black Lives Matter. Unless, of course, those lives happen to be lost because of coronavirus, in which case we're not going to talk about them. Let's go back.
Them too, I guess, but I have polls. Just like last time, I was losing to Hillary in every state, and I won every state, okay? I won Michigan, I won Wisconsin, I won places that they didn't.
10 points.
Okay, and I have other polls where I'm winning, and you've seen them too, I guess, but I have polls. Just like last time, I was losing to Hillary in every state, and I won every state, okay?
I'm pretty sure he didn't win every state.
I won Michigan, I won Wisconsin, I won places that they didn't even think were pollable. They didn't even want to go bother. We have tremendous support.
There's states that just aren't pollable. You know, those states without people or phones.
I've seen many polls. CNN.
Remember in 2016, we polled two and a half states. Michigan, Wisconsin, half a state, West Dakota.
And didn't CNN just have a poll, which they didn't want to use, where I was winning every single swing state?
If they didn't want to use, they wouldn't have used.
I think you've seen that. I had another poll yesterday. Yeah, 2 weeks back. I had another poll, and CNN didn't want to use it, so they used another poll where mostly Democrats were polled. Take a look at who they're polling, if they poll anybody, because I don't even think they go out and poll. I think they sit at a desk and say, give this number, give that number. That's what happened last time. The polling was ridiculous, other than 2 or 3 polls, which I do use, and which I'm doing very, very well with. But I saw another poll where I'm winning every swing state, substantially. And why wouldn't I? I built the greatest economy we've ever had. I built the greatest.
Not even close to being true.
Economy in the world in a fairly short period of time, 3.5 years. Then the plague came in from China. They shouldn't have let it happen. Not right. It came in from China. In fact,
who shouldn't have let it happen? Who's in charge here?
In fact, I see today there's a big article that they weren't very transparent or forthcoming, to put it mildly. The stall, they call it.
To the WHO.
I built this great economy, and I'm building it again, Brian. By the time of election, I believe the economy will be doing phenomenal numbers. Big job increases, big.
Probably by the time of the election, the economy, the GDP for that quarter is going to be up X percentage because it's down so far now. Let's say GDP shrunk 30%. We don't know this last quarter yet. But then by the election in October, they'll release a new GDP, which will be higher, and he'll take credit for building it up so much because, we're starting to open things up again. Completely discounting the fact that we won't be anywhere close to where we were. So you have to be careful about how they tell you these things. I know no one here is going to vote for Trump, but anyway,
GDP increases, and that'll be before the election.
Right.
I also think by the end of the year we'll have a vaccine. We're doing very well. I just had a meeting yesterday. I think we're going to have therapeutics, and I think we're going to have cures. So we're
not going to have cures. No one cures a virus, but anyway.
be in very good shape. But, and right now, by the way, the numbers came out today, and they were much better than anybody would have thought. And the stock market is booming. The stock market is at 26,000, almost 26,000 right now.
Again, he's calling the stock market booming when we were almost at 30. Now we're at 26,000, and that's booming.
The Dow, and who would think that? Because people know, and we're going to have a great year next year. It's going to be a phenomenal year. We're going to have a very good third quarter. We're going to have a phenomenal fourth quarter. And if I'm heading in that direction, I think we're going to be very hard to beat.
If I'm heading in that direction, it's not the country; it's always Trump.
Frankly, because Sleepy Joe would turn off immediately.
I know you got about 100
quarter. We're going to have a phenomenal fourth quarter, and if I'm heading in that direction, I think we're going to be very hard to beat. Frankly, because Sleepy Joe would turn off immediately.
I know you got.
I think they've actually given Trump levers on his desk so that unemployment. I'm going to take unemployment and put it up. That'll be good. No, sir, you want to put it down? Oh, I'm going to take it down. There we go. That's better. He thinks Sleepy Joe is going to, fall asleep on it and push it back up.
About 100 meetings today, and I appreciate this time, so does our audience. But, Mr. President, a couple of things. The word is you want to invite Vladimir Putin to the G7 meeting. Let's say it's in September. What has he done to earn back the trust of the free world? He hasn't left the Ukraine. He hasn't left Georgia. Creates havoc in Venezuela. Do you see where he deserves this respect?
Yeah, well, look, helped us with the oil industry, which was good for him, too. But we got it up, and now we're going to save millions of jobs in Texas and North Dakota and other places, Oklahoma, with millions of jobs. I mean, the oil now is sustainable. I mean, it was down to zero, which would have ruined, we would have lost 5 million jobs. But no, it's not a question of what's he done. It's a question of common sense. So we have a G7. He's not there.
It's not a question of what he's done. It's a question of common sense. It's a G7. Well, it would be the G8. It'd be the G7 and a half. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see what the oil prices are today. Oil prices are... come back. Sorry, you guys can't see this chart. It's secret. About 36 and a half a barrel. That's nowhere near sustainability. That's... that's not going to save a lot of jobs.
Half of the meeting is devoted to Russia, and if he was there, it'd be much easier to solve. It used to be the G8, and Obama got taken over the cleaners. I mean, Obama had his pockets.
Obama got taken over the cleaners.
Picked, and as you know, Putin did something that he shouldn't have done because he didn't respect Obama, perhaps, and Obama got upset, and the United States said, we don't want to be here if Putin's going to be there. The problem is many of the things that
the entire rest of the G8 voted Russia out because they invaded Crimea, or as historians refer to it, to picking Obama's pocket.
We talk about are about Putin. So we're just sitting around wasting time because then you have to finish your meeting and somebody has to call Putin or deal with Putin on different things. And I say, have him in the room. Have him in the room. It used to be the G8. And I don't say deserving or non-deserving. I say common sense. Get things done. I want to have a nuclear pact, a safe nuclear, because nuclear is the single biggest problem the world has. Single biggest problem, right. The power. And China, we have them, and we have more than anybody. We have more than anybody. China is a very big problem, and we did very well with China, but then they sent us the plague.
Is that deal done? Is that deal done?
The trade deal is done, but the trade deal got finished, and the ink wasn't dry when the virus floated over from China and started killing everybody in the world. Not just here, in the whole world. You look at Brazil, look at these countries, look at what Italy went through, and Spain, and France, and all of them. I mean, the whole world, 186 countries. So when you say, is the trade deal done? Yeah, the trade.
Okay, he's back to 186 countries. He was right one day. Do you guys remember how happy I was? He was right.
The deal's done. It was a great deal. China was having, before the plague, China was having the worst year they've had in 66 years. That's because of me. I'm not.
That number gets higher every time.
Proud of that. I'm just saying that these presidents let China pick our pockets. And I did a great trade deal, but you know what? I'm not excited about anything with respect to China right now because of what happened. They could have sealed it. They could have closed it off. And I ask this, why is it Wuhan? It came out of Wuhan. Why is it that it didn't go to China, but it went to the rest of the world? It went to Europe. It went to the world. It went to the United States. Too. Came out of it, but it didn't go to Beijing. It didn't go to other parts of China. What's that all about? So how come they let it go out to the world, but they didn't let it go into China? That's a little strange deal going on there.
Lastly, I know you've been taking aim at Joe Scarborough and Chris Cuomo. Why put them in your crosshairs when there's so many other huge problems out there?
I just do it. People hit me, I hit back. It's just...
I just do it. Why waste so much time? So much energy on all these things that don't matter. I just do it. Here's the rest of China. See all these red dots? That's all other areas of China. Well, not down there. All other areas of China that also got the virus. So where he gets the concept that somehow they kept it out of the rest of China, it's complete nonsense.
I fight. I've always felt that about Scarborough. A lot of people in Florida felt he got away with murder, I think. So, I've always felt that that's not a uncommon story, if you look at it. So we don't have to waste time on it. But
everyone should be signing petitions. I'm supposed to say that. So when I'm done, I'm going to sign some petitions. Change.org actually has a lot of petitions that you can sign in support of George Floyd or in support of police officer reform. Every time they've done looks at police department studies, their racism is systemic. In Baltimore, it was. In St. Louis, Ferguson, it was. So things need to be reformed. So absolutely, take the time later for me, for Kevin Lee Daughter, and get out there and sign some petitions, or stay in and sign. In fact, don't go anywhere. Don't touch another pen. Do it from your computer or your phone.
I've always felt that he got away with murder. That was my feeling. I'm very strong.
So Trump feels that Joe Scarborough is a murderer and got away with murder. He's President of the United States.
Feeling, and I do feel it. As far as Chris Cuomo, no, I just report on his ratings. His ratings are terrible, unlike your ratings at Fox and Friends, where you're doing fantastically well. Thank you, Mr. President.
And some mornings they beat Fox and Friends. Joe Scarborough's ratings beat Fox and Friends, not Cuomo's, because they're on completely different parts of the day. But yeah, Chris Cuomo's ratings actually have suffered quite a bit when he was sick, because he was still broadcasting from his basement when he had COVID-19. And I think people just don't want to watch like a sick person. So one day you'll see, I'll get a cold or something, or COVID, God forbid. And if I'm broadcasting and you're like, I don't want to watch him. That's a natural instinct, even when I'm not sick.
I think I help you a lot, but you have three great people.
Trump and Scarborough used to pal around all the time. He's always felt this for the last 19, 20, 21 years, however long ago the non-murder was. He used to pal around with Joe Scarborough. So, Jeffrey Epstein, they used to hang out all the time. Dancing with the overbite. Grabbing the ladies.
Including you. You used to be a 6, then you got to be a 7 or 8. And now you're approaching the 9 territory, but those other two are great.
Thanks.
And they're great.
Always room for improvement. That's what a good coach does. You leave
That's right.
room
That's
for improvement.
Right. There is. That's true.
Mr. President, it's a critical time in America's history. Best of luck the rest of the way, and enjoy the rest of the day and all your meetings.
Thank you very much, Brian. You take care. Congratulations on 10 years. That's fantastic. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. All right.
Congratulations on 10. More like 10 and a half years, really, when you look at it. Okay, so that was Trump on the Kilmeade show today. And Joe Scarborough was a murderer. 20 years later. Oh, God. Okay. Debbie, thank you. 10 and a half. Yeah, 10 and a half years, Kathleen. Okay, so that was that. I don't know. Let's just check. What time is it? It's 1:45. Let's take a look and see. He's got nothing on his schedule. I'll show you guys his public schedule today. The public calendar for the president is, you can see he's golfed 266 days We're day 2000 something, 2060, something like that of his presidency. So 266 days. Oh, it's right here. So, 1028, 266 days he's golf. So about a third of the time almost. He had lunch with the Secretary of State. So he had lunch with Pompeo, and then there was a briefing. That's it for today. That's all the president has on his schedule today. Now, he also does things that aren't on his schedule, like executive time. But that's a president of the United States during a pandemic and national riots, and he has lunch with the Secretary of State, who, by definition, doesn't have anything to do with internal affairs of the United States. Oh, yeah. Okay, Kathleen. Obama at 5 p.m. Is that 5 p.m.? Let's go look that up. I'm assuming that's 5 p.m., so 2 p.m. our time. Let's see. The office of Barack and Michelle Obama. Welcome to the office. Scheduling. This is the office then. Where's it going to be? Is it going to be on his Facebook page? Always nice to have you around, Green Room. 5 p.m. I'll get you clarification on that. Let's go to his YouTube channel. See if we can find his official Entertainment Tonight. Doesn't look like he has that. Okay, he's got several million Facebook followers, so let's do that. Barack Obama. 55 million people like this. Sign up. Okay, let's sign up. Okay, so it's showing me here. So this is a nice little mural by George Floyd. Little girl in front of him. Let's see what this says. My daddy plays with me. My daddy reads to me. My daddy tucks me in at night. Please don't kill my daddy. I can't read the rest of it. I will vote Kathleen. Here we go. Obama.org. Thank you, Kathleen. Let's check it out. And then we'll do the credits, because people love the credits. At 5 p.m. Eastern. So 2 p.m. Like 12 minutes from now. So, guys, I'm going to sign off right after the credits, because that's the important part. And then I'll come back and we'll watch the town hall with President Obama at 2 p.m. Oh, how many followers on his website? I don't know, but 55 million followers on Facebook. Here you go, guys. Closing credits.